Sponsored by Wispr Flow. The fastest-selling folding phones in North America are getting sequels, and Samsung flew me out to LA to see them. What do you mean it's not Samsung? Hello, Moto. The brand that first made the flip phone a must-have back in 2004 has spent the past 6 years resurrecting the Razr for a new generation, and it's finally paying off. Motorola bit off a 44% share of the foldable market in North America last year, stealing 15% from Samsung based on flip phones alone. I've just spent a few hours with the 2026 models Motorola made to extend that growth, but before we talk about those, I want to tell you what it's been like to spend the past year with the previous Razr, and what that tells us about whether you should buy the new ones. The Razr Ultra has kept its place in my pocket or my Peak design almost continuously since I received this review sample from Motorola in early May of 2025. I don't put cases on my phones. Well, not counting cases with buttons from companies I've co-founded. And I don't baby them either, foldable or no. Check out all these impact craters from the umpteen drops and tosses I've subjected it to. Cringe at the grime circling the spine from hundreds of Kirk-style flips open and thousands of slap-chop closes. I cleaned this screen by wiping it on my jeans, not buffing it with a microfiber. The hinge is looser than it was when I got it, and sometimes when I fold it shut, a tiny crackle of protest escapes, like a mechanical wince. The crease has deepened slightly. The display doesn't seem as bright as it once did, but I've had no grinding gears from dust intrusion, no crack on either display despite all those drops. Oh, and it turns out wood is a great material to make a phone out of. The backplate has held up better than anything else. So on the hardware side, I only have a couple complaints that came to light over the past year. First, the phone is finicky about what chargers you plug it into. And if it doesn't like the one you chose, it'll either charge intermittently, or it can get itself into an unsettling boot loop, which doesn't inspire confidence. And second, it's also particular about what pocket you put it in when you're using Bluetooth earbuds. This was a problem many years ago on the Razr line, which I thought had been fixed. Oh, and while we're on audio, the days of Motorola having the best noise cancellation seem to be behind us. I often use the Razr as a baseline when comparing call quality with other phones I'm reviewing, and I regularly hear from people that the Razr lets in more background noise, like wind and street sounds. Bummer. And you know what my favorite kind of bummer is? An averted one. This being a Motorola, I expected the camera to be a major letdown in the long term. But after importing 11 months worth of captures from this thing, turns out I've trusted it with a lot of special moments, and more work events and product shoots than I remembered. And honestly, it did very well overall. The key camera letdown continues to, of course, be video, but that's applicable across all of Android, from Samsung to Xiaomi. If I had to put my finger on the biggest area for improvement, it would be software support. And Motorola is legendarily slow to update its phones. Android 16 was no exception, and when it finally did come to the Razr, it failed to fix some small but annoying bugs. And check out the date indicator, it's slowly sliding off the always-on display here. And 16 brought a much bigger problem, too. It seems to use a new layout strategy for rendering apps on the cover screen. I guess the idea is to avoid the cameras. But Motorola already had a solution for that, which worked well. This is not good. Ever since 2020, one of the biggest benefits to buying a Razr over a Galaxy Flip has been that the Razr lets you use almost the entire phone without opening it, and lets you set that up easily. So this is a big regression that I hope to see fixed. I closed out with the downsides there, but on the whole, that's a fairly healthy mix of good to bad for a phone I've used pretty hard for a year. Oh, and both battery life and performance have stayed close to where they were at the outset. I'm not usually one to dwell on a spec sheet, but that Snapdragon 8 Elite chipset is probably a big part of the reason this phone has never had any trouble running whatever apps I've thrown at it. Including the app that's making these words show up right here on this screen. Wispr Flow is my sponsor, but it's one I keep using between videos, because when I don't have time to type, it's by far the best way to turn my speech into text. In fact, I've used it in Google Docs to draft huge chunks of the script for the video you're watching now. When I referenced Xiaomi and Snapdragon earlier, Wispr Flow knew those were brands that needed to be capitalized. And when I prepped questions for Motorola executives I expect to see at the launch event, like Francois Laflamme or Ruben Castano, it already knew how to spell them. I also don't need to do the hand-holding I'm used to, like dictating punctuation, ! Because Wispr Flow knows that I like my telegrams casual, my Slack messages excited, and my emails formal. And it adjusts my tone for each. Pretty cool, right? Question? What's more, no matter how many times I screw the pooch, drop the ball, Wispr Flow fixes those flubs for me. Hit the link in the description and use promo code MrMobile for an extra month of Wispr Flow Pro, and thanks to Wispr Flow for sponsoring this video. Well, I hope you enjoyed that nice velvety studio audio, because now we're on the road and recording audio from phones. Sorry. When Motorola said it was flying us out to LA to see 4 new phones, I thought the Razr must be due for a blockbuster reboot. But it turns out the leaks were right about this sequel season. This is more a rewarming than a reboot, right down to reusing the same Snapdragon silicon from last year on the Ultra. I know that's going to make for a lot of angry headlines, but at the risk of coming off as an apologist, we just saw how much power that chipset has, and how well it's aged over the past year, so it could be a lot worse. The true sin is in a price hike despite said reuse, but we'll save that for the end. On the sunny side, Motorola has also leaned into another area that's been working for it: fun, bright, and bold colors and materials. On the Ultra, that wood that endured so much abuse is back in a darker cocoa color, but this time around the shade that's caught my eye is the Orient Blue in a new quilted Alcantara material. I really hope this waffled texture helps it wear better over time, because IP rating or no, I'd worry about getting anything Alcantara wet. But this color is so gorgeous that I think I'd have to scoop it up anyway. Those colors are both Pantone, of course, continuing the co-branding that's made Motorola so eye-catching in recent years, and the downrange Razrs don't miss out on the fun either. Last year's sort of teal spring bud gives way to a deeper sporting green, while bright white carries a stone-like finish that reminds me of, a kitchen countertop or something. Toss in the mid-range plus option and you've got Mountain View that looks like a billowing bedsheet or some such. I know it's been years of this, but I still find it refreshing to be given this many choices in how your phone looks and feels. Oh, and they're stronger too. The Ultra gets Gorilla Glass Ceramic 3 for better drop performance, and the base model is rated for temperature extremes, intense humidity, and operations at altitude. So there's that. And look, if specs are important to you, Motorola didn't leave you completely in the dust. For the Ultra, HDR peak brightness on the display is up to 5,000 nits, and silicon carbon has boosted battery size to 5,000 milliamp hours, which is crazy because that's like 13% bigger than the battery in Samsung's Galaxy Fold. The Ultra has also gotten a main camera upgrade with faster performance, better thermal management, and low-fic technology. This kind of sensor is more resistant to clipping highlights, which means it should offer better dynamic range. Oh, and Motorola has added yet another gimmick to its camcorder mode. While shooting, you can tilt the phone in one direction to push in, and tilt it the other way to zoom out. Yeah, I know, it's about as ridiculous as it looks, and it sounds crazy because the frame would tilt too, right? But no, this seems to use a horizon lock-like technology, keeping everything level. although it looks like the jumps between lenses are still kind of rough. I do not hold out much hope for this or any Motorola video camera. We'll see in the full review. We also see Motorola making some changes to keep pace with or extend its lead over Samsung's Galaxy Flip. The Razr finally supports video wallpapers. Oh yeah, look at that. Though they're really janky on the pre-production units I handled. And there's now a daily drop news feed with automatically generated memories from Google Photos. Sort of like what Samsung's Now feed is supposed to be. And as live activities are now more common across Android apps, the cover screen will support them. All good stuff here. And Motorola deserves credit too for resisting the urge so many other manufacturers succumb to. Emulating Apple's liquid glass, or the inconvenient split notification shade. None of that here. This interface is still very Google, very Android, with the typical Moto flair. But man, no Qi 2 MagSafe, despite the phone staying thick? No upgrade to the folding display, even in this post-Oppo world of the zero-feel crease? And price hikes across the board. In the case of the Ultra, to $1,500. Market forces, RAM cost increases, global instability, I know, but still, tough to swallow. Now, I'm not typically the type to find a silver lining everywhere, but I do see one in this situation. This world of seemingly minor changes coupled with stagnant or climbing prices. And that bright side is, the same thing has been happening with other smartphone brands whose strategy is succeeding. In this latest generation of Razrs, I see the quiet confidence, not to say complacency, not yet, of a company that knows that what it's doing is working. Motorola isn't changing much because it doesn't seem to believe it needs to. Now, on one hand, that does disappoint me, someone who would really like to see a return to more assertive throwback designs of the type we saw 4 to 5 years ago. But it's a good sign for the Razr business, and that of flip foldables in general. And we can't forget that the flips aren't all that Motorola is launching on May 21st. Alongside them will be the first Razr Fold, which was also shown off here in LA, but with nothing new to report except the price, $1899. Unlikely to set the streets on fire, sandwiched between the Pixel Fold and Galaxy Fold 7, with a couple new Samsungs and an iPhone Fold around the corner. It is not my job to drum some fingernails on these phones, croon on about the colors some more, and try to repaint an iterative evolution into an explosive cultural moment. For the Razr, this is a year for retrenching more than revolution, and whether it's successful will depend on the coming reviews. But as I head off to the next review, the next event, the next gadget, it does feel like the foldable category I've been pulling for 6 years is healthier than it's ever been before. And if Samsung or Apple or anyone else is willing to ship phones in North America sees Motorola succeeding with these, and it serves to stoke the fires of competition that could make this whole category truly flourish, so much the better. Motorola provided travel and lodging for Mr. Mobile's whirlwind overnight in Los Angeles to cover the new Razrs, but as always, I covered the company as a subject, not a sponsor. Motorola had no editorial input, no copy approval, no early preview of this content, and I was not paid to make it. Next up on the review desk is likely to be that Razr Fold. Subscribe to Mr. Mobile so you don't miss it, and follow me on social media at Captain2Phones for my thoughts between the videos. Until next time, from Michael Fisher, thanks for watching, and stay mobile, my friends.